If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
The blah blah blah.
Good vibes.
Blah
Good vibes.
blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Because typically in science, when you hear like the word frequency or vibration, like kind of your radar goes up right away. Like, I don't know, this makes me uncomfortable, you know. But man, there's some crazy good studies.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimericans show. We are going to be chatting with Trevor Lohman a little bit later. Is he a PhD?
Yep.
Trevor Lohman, PhD, a little bit later about how to not die young or how to live longer, maybe how to maximize your potential into your older days, at least from like the natural stuff. You know, you might catch this, can't really predict against some of the stuff like getting hit by a bus, but you can make sure that maybe you don't get diabetes or some shit. So it's a good one for that. And we got everybody's favorite podcaster here, Graham Malama Ding Dong Dunlop. No green screen yet.
That's what you're gonna call it. No, it's just another glitch that's happening to me right now. So
Glitch.
I did the green screen. I tried it all these different ways. And it wasn't quite, you know how you have to cover the whole screen. Otherwise it's not going to work. Right. Otherwise it looks really stupid. Right.
Oh, it wasn't enough to cover your full background.
No. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to hang it from the ceiling then. And now all of a sudden it doesn't work. The green doesn't even work. It doesn't even work. It's not even picking up. It's super frustrating. But that's the way it's been for me the last few days now. I was in the groove last week. Like, we're putting all our content on Rumble now and also on Rockfin again. We're making sure that our audio content is on there because people still listen to Greg's show on Rumble and stuff. So, you know, I've been updating all these websites and going hard on all this. And now I've got fucking internet issues that are driving me nuts. Like, I can't get through these websites have you ever had that where technology just seems to stop working for you? Like, even my phone, even prepping for this intro, my phone wasn't working properly.
Is mercury in the microwave?
Is mercury in the microwave?
Micrograde?
Oh, retrograde or whatever.
It's mercury.
I thought you said, did you put mercury in the microwave? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's a celestial thing. I mean, I don't know if it's a celestial thing, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just.
When I was a kid, we used to break those mercury thermometers and dump them in the heater.
No way.
Math class.
Why in the heater?
I don't know. Because we're fucking idiots.
Wow. That's very poisonous.
Probably, huh?
Yeah.
We break it and play with it in our hands all the time.
Yeah, I remember doing that a little bit, playing with it with our hands, but I think it's still leached. I think you weren't supposed to touch it with your skin because it would leach in or something. But it was always a fairly small amount. I don't know.
I hope.
We should have asked Trevor Lohman about your mercury playing days.
I feel like, yeah, I probably don't want to know, man. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
But it should be gone by now. I've been detoxing the heavy metals for a while now. It's got to be a month or more. Over a month, maybe.
And what are you doing for that?
Ooh, shoot, I forget what it's called. It's a spray that I spray in my mouth.
Oh.
I could find out for the next show.
It's not Cyto Detox. Do you remember we did that show on Cyto Detox many years ago? I did a couple of bottles of that. That seemed pretty good.
Maybe if I type it in my email, it'll come up. I'm trying to, damn it, I look at that bottle every day. And I can't think of it now. But anyways, I just spray it in my mouth. And it's supposed to take out all the heavy metals. I don't know how to tell if it's working. So they say you're supposed to feel worse for a while and then you start to feel better. But
Are you at the better stage yet?
I don't know. I didn't really notice worse.
We should try that thing that those guys put in the chats a little while ago.
Which
You
chat?
chew cranberries. What was it again? You chew cranberries in your mouth for a minute, and then you swish cranberry juice in your mouth for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you spit it out, and apparently it comes with all this goo, like worms and
TRS.
shit. And
That's what it's called. Advanced TRS.
so, did you hear about that cranberry juice thing?
Is it like pulling?
Yeah, it seems like it.
I never had much success with the pulling.
And then Ryan from Kansas was like, speaking of Kansas, I have actually something to read about Kansas later. Ryan from Kansas is like, well, we got all kinds of juice in our store. And I was like, well, all that ocean spray stuff seems to me like it's all not really pure juice. It's like full of stuff. It's like a drink.
How's Kosovo? Have you heard of them? COSEVA?
No.
That's who it's by.
Oh.
Cleanse toxins from your body and mind. Your air, water, and food are saturated with toxins. That means your body and mind are too. Advanced TRS uses breakthrough nanotechnology at the cellular level to remove and cleanse toxins and heavy metals from your body. This is performed at the cellular level with its proprietary clinopatolite zeolite formula.
Oh, zeolite.
What's zeolite? You know what that is?
Yeah, that's the main sort of detox that people talk about.
Okay. Advanced TRS captures.
AJ sells zeolite.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Yeah.
Captures heavy metals like mercury, arsenic, aluminum, lead, chemical toxins, blah, 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 all that stuff.
And mercury from the 90s or the 80s.
Yeah. So I've been on that for, I want to say, like, at least a month.
Right on.
Maybe 2. So maybe from my leaking fillings, it'll offset my leaky fillings. I've never had the tech problem, though. I really don't. I just seem to have the opposite experience.
I'm sure people have. I mean, I know people that have, but this has been a really long sort of like few days of just major problems on everything. Going to websites, not being able to get all the way into them. They open up. I can't upload things. I can't even put things in carts. Like, it's almost like I'm allowed this surface level access to everything, but not deeper within anything. It's very frustrating.
Like you're in the Langoliers.
Yeah. And honestly, today I was like, am I dreaming right now? What the fuck is going on? I was on with Nord customer service for a while, and we're going through all this stuff, and I have to still do another exercise to see what's going on. But it's very strange. I was really honestly, it was when the green screen stopped working. I was like, how can this be too? How can be? I mean, now this isn't working. And the other day I did all these experiments trying to get it working properly, like actually just sort of making it fit, not getting it to work properly. It was working properly. And now all of a sudden it just doesn't even recognize the green. So all of a sudden the green is just green.
Did you click the I have a green screen?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You clicked on the match the color.
And I feel more, before, like last week, I was in more of a, I'm feeling good about tech. I was on a roll. I was kind of like, yeah, I'm figuring all this out. I'm just doing it on my own, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And now it's just all falling apart, Al.
Got my big boy pants on.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't have a virus?
Well,
How do we find that out? Maybe you should just download one of those things. It'd be good to know.
Well,
Normally,
Nord does
really
it. I mean, I
care
got
about that
Nord,
kind of
right?
stuff.
Nord does it. So
I don't think Nord-
Nord's supposed to protect it. I mean,
I
they
don't
have
think
threat
Nord's a
protection and stuff.
virus.
Isn't threat protection virus? Isn't that the same
Nah,
thing?
I don't think so. I would get like, I don't know. People will probably be like, what the fuck? But I'm thinking
Tony,
like,
I don't even want to talk about it in the show. It's just going to seem like we don't know what we're doing.
we don't. But maybe Norton.
Yeah.
I feel like Norton and AVG were the big ones.
I thought I had one. I thought I had one in here already.
But I didn't, I didn't even really consider it because when you're on a Mac, you don't really worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. No.
But now have you been downloading anything sketchy, like free software?
No,
I'm not saying like
that's
porn.
no. That's the thing. I don't really do. No, not really. I mean, no.
Huh.
A lot
Well,
of PDFs from Internet Archive and stuff. I mean,
it'll text me if anyone tries to log into any accounts anyway
okay.
from a new machine. I don't know what these hackers are capable of these days if they sneak in, and set up some shit on your computer. That's what, because it seems like your shit's fucked with. Have you shut it off? Obviously, you shut it off or
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
powered it down.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I don't know. This is like probably better talk to George or someone.
Okay.
Especially if it's a PC. Pretty crappy.
So, how you been?
I'm good. My computer's working fine. The world continues to fall apart, but my Amazon still works. So, I'm happily oblivious still. Not oblivious. I guess that's not the word. Happily, I don't know. I just don't give a fuck. In some ways it's kind of nice because it takes less effort to keep up in certain areas. Like my day job, Yeah. I feel like things that used to take all of my attention or, problems that maybe used to consume more of my day are now just like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the world has slowed down, noticeably slowed down. It's kind of like you said. Am I in a dream? Is this possible? Is this actually possible that we've come this far in this fucking multi-million-dollar system and you guys just fucking missed these fucking silly details at the very first step, the fucking very first connection. And they're like, oops. And so they had this big, and we're talking about one of the fucking biggest companies in the world. All right. I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but we're talking about one of the biggest fucking companies in the world. If not, they're definitely the biggest in their industry. They could be one of the biggest private companies on the planet for sure. But they're not supposed to be, they're supposed to know what they're doing. So and it's, we didn't even know, we weren't expecting the meeting. It was just kind of thrust upon us because we've just been waiting for these drawings. Like, we have to have a meeting today. It's like, uh-oh. It's just, you've seen this thing coming off the rails for a while. You've seen it like sort of wavering. And they had this whole list of explanations on why they were fucked. And like number 3 was human error. And it might have been number 2, but it boiled down to that was the root cause of it all is whoever made the model just didn't notice that. Didn't notice key details that I won't bore anyone here with that, it's all fucked.
It's just another good example or a really good example of the Atlas Shrugged thing you're talking about.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, you're trying to tell people that it's a bad idea to be this aggressive with the schedule as it is and blah, 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 and you just get hung up on thing after thing after thing. And now these next parts we need are, 3 and 4 weeks away. And it's a fucking nightmare. I don't see how we're still building stuff in 10 years. In 10 years, it's going to be a different fucking world in construction. I don't know if I'll be able to do it anymore. It'll be tougher. For sure. I mean, maybe someone else has a different experience. If you're out there and your industry is just like, wow, man, we are fucking nailing it right now. I'd like to hear it. I mean, I've got some good guys working for me. They're nailing it. They're doing well in a lot of things, but I just mean like the overall
the industry in total,
the entire industry from top to finish. There's tons of trades that are still killing it, and doing a great job. But it's just, and the problem is that I'm on some massive projects right now where a bunch of these things have to come together, and that's where you're talking about people saying things are in ball and courts. And dude, there was a new one the other day. Oh yeah, it was something to do with milk. Oh my God, I gotta find it here. You talk for a minute.
Well, I was going to say we were on Legit Bat yesterday. I think they were live on Rockfin. I'm not sure if the episode, I don't know how they work their episodes and stuff, but Darren was really ranting about this. If you want to hear more about that, it's pretty interesting chat. We had a great episode with Legit Bat. And we also talk about it. We also talk about it on our Outlawed show, I think, recently.
It's not worth arguing over split milk.
Split?
Split.
No, it's just a spelling mistake.
No, then it doesn't make sense in the context because then we're not arguing over spilled milk.
It's spilt milk.
It's crying over spilled milk.
Arguing over spilt milk, crying over spilt milk. Is it crying, not arguing? So they're saying arguing over split milk?
Yeah.
It's just a spelling mistake.
But then it doesn't make sense in its context because it's not like something bad happened and that we can't fix and we're fighting over it anyway. We're arguing over something that we see two different sides on. And
it's your ball in court, dude.
He's just saying he's going to meet me in the middle with some split milk. So we split the milk, so everything's fine. There's no need to argue. But my argument is, but all the milk is mine, motherfucker. So I still lose if we split the milk.
Well,
Trust me, I tried to get this guy.
Spill the milk, too.
I know. I was just like, it's got to be a typo. It's got to be a typo. But I'm like, if it's a typo, it just makes zero sense in this fucking context. So anyway, it's like the ball in court. And what's the other one? The intensive purposes. Anyway. It's all good in the hood, homie. It's cold again, but it's supposed to warm up. So,
right on.
I'm going to Shasta in like 8 days. 9 days?
Do you want to mention that again on the intro or a trip?
We could. There's like 1 or 2 spots left of non-camping. There's plenty of camping. If you want to camp, there's tons of room. But head over to contact@thecabin.com. Click on the little airplane icon that's magic on the mountain and sign up. No, we're heading down, flying down on the 9th, hanging out with some cool people down there. Greg Carwood, Owen Hunt, Brandon Powell, Joe Roop, and some others. And we're going to have a time. Go to Mount Shasta, learn some magic stuff. The whole itinerary is there on the site. Go check it out. And come join us. It's like pretty last minute, but if you're in California or if you have some air miles saved up or some shit, come join us. Shoot me an email. Let me know. It's going to be a time. We have the Utah 420 event, of course, coming up as well. Ton of great trips coming up. I'm looking forward to a short plane ride. It's going to seem so quick to get to California after the last couple of slogs. And I'll be honest, I have a new appreciation for the planes in the West after a couple of them European motherfuckers. I mean, I could not believe the lack of leg room on the one airline. I was just like, "This, am I dreaming? Like my knees are jammed in here. And you see people walk by, they're 300 pounds. Like, how do they even do it? How are they getting into the seat even? Anyway, I digress. What do you got for us?
I've been saving something up, and I guess it's just as good a time now than ever to talk about it. But a shout out to Kate and from our chats who put this in there. It was a while ago. And a shout out to Rising from the Ashes podcast who talked about our audiobooks actually on this episode. And they had the author of this paper on. So it is, it's not really a project operation, but it's talking about the alchemical world of Oz. Did you know about Frank Baum's classic fairy tale, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and how he was quite the alchemist? And there's really some interesting stuff about his teachings and or his education and his writings and stuff.
I don't even know who Frank Baum is.
So he's the guy that I guess that wrote that Wonderful World of Oz, Wonderful Wizard of Oz, right?
That's just the Wizard of Oz.
The
same one we were pausing.
Yeah, exactly. We found a symbol in that. I mean, this is interesting, right? I wonder if this is kind of an answer to that. So it says it was written in 1900 and may be one of the most beloved children's stories of the modern era. It may also, in fact, be an allegory of the mystic's journey. using classic alchemical symbols and operations as Dorothy sojourns along the golden path toward reintegration and the discovery of the Philosopher's Stone. The Emerald City at the center of Oz, for example, is a likely allusion to the Emerald Tablets of Hermes, Trismegistus. But either by extreme coincidence or hidden intent, Oz closely parallels the 7 operations of Azoth alchemy, which Baum would have been familiar with as a theosophist and student of occultism, Madame Blavatsky, or occultist Madame Blavatsky. So I guess he was into that theosophy. So this paper offers both the student of alchemy and the general Oz enthusiast an entirely new way to read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Interesting, eh?
Oz enthusiast, is that a thing?
So a modern myth, he says, like some of the most popular stories, even among adults, are those with adolescent heroes who must learn their place in the world, like Harry Potter, the Hunger Games, Star Wars, and the entire Disney canon are but a few examples of how much the hero's journey resonates with audiences of all ages. One could argue that as older religious myths lose their cultural foothold, they are being replaced with modern myths, sometimes in the form of young adult fiction. He understood this when he wrote The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, creating a new guidebook for a young country in 1900 on the precipice of modernization. As he states in his prologue to Oz, the fairy tales of Grimm and Andersen are historical, and the time has come for a series of newer wonder tales.
Would that be just like a new spin on them all?
Well, yeah, I think so. But I mean, this is what I was talking about. Where was I talking about this? It was on one of our shows, I think, where who was it with? Anyways, it's about how important the hero's journey is. It was probably with Gary from Nerdrotic. Like, I think it's not only based on like mythologies, but the initiations and the secret mystery schools were based on it. The seasons, it's got celestial significance. Like, that's why those true hero journey stories are so powerful to us, you know?
That's right. That was on Grimeric Outlawed then, which is not this show. If you guys haven't checked out Outlawed yet, what the fuck?
That was an amazing chat with Gary from Nerdrotic. I mean, we get into the whole Hollywood thing and the downfall and the wokeness and everything. So I'm going to read another paragraph here quickly. It says, there's a strong tendency in modern novelists towards introducing some vein of mysticism or occultism in their writings. Books of this character are eagerly bought and read by the people, both in Europe and America. It shows the innate longing in our natures to unravel the mysterious, to seek some explanation, however fictitious, of the unexplainable in nature and in our daily existence. For as we advance in education, our desire for knowledge increases, and we are less satisfied to remain in ignorance of that mysterious fountainhead from which emanates all that is sublime and grand and incomprehensible in nature. So I'm going to leave a lot of it here, but it's a really interesting paper. They say that the Oz is filled with all kinds of theosophical teachings.
The Wizard of Oz is?
Yeah.
Was the Wicked Witch?
Talks about the alchemical. He goes into like all the 7 alchemical operations and what Kansas represents, the prima materia in the merry old land of Oz.
What does Kansas represent?
Prima materia.
What's that?
Like the initial material, like prime material, the material.
Like
here, I'll read it here. I'm just gotta go back there. So before beginning the magnum opus, the alchemist starts with prima materia, or first matter, that ubiquitous but subtle substance that will be transformed into the Philosopher's Stone and life elixir. Dorothy's journey begins on a colorless, drab Kansas farm. And to drive the point home, Baum uses the word gray 10 times in the opening pages of his magnum opus. She stood in the doorway and looked around. She could see nothing but the great gray prairie on every side. So, yeah, interesting.
I guess. I never,
I get it, dude. I get it. Like when I first heard about all this, the hero's journey stuff, I was like, I just can't wrap my head around it, why it's so important. But the more I learn about it and learn about these initiations that they're doing and the resurrection and the rebirth and all this and the celestial significance, it's no wonder why you would mimic these things, right? You would mimic the seasons in your initiations and in your mythology. No wonder why it has such a power for us. So I'm starting to wrap my head around it finally.
Dave
After
Matheson
years.
would love it.
Yeah, totally.
Well, check out our support page. I mean, the podcast we're talking about, Gary, that's over at GrimericaOutlaw.ca. We've had some fabulous chats over there. We got a hold of Randall Carlson before Joe. Did that show come out on Joe Rogan yet?
No, it's not out yet. There's people squirming for it. They're like, what's going on? But I think they have to position themselves a little bit. I've been communicating a little bit back and forth. I don't want to say much, but I think they have to position themselves properly for maybe some kind of protection for when this comes out, or not protection, but at least, I don't know. I think it needs to go through a little bit of an approval process. That's my own sort of feeling
The
on it.
conspiracy boners must be rock hard right now.
Oh, totally. So what we're talking about is we had Randall and Bradley on Grimerica Outlawed, and I put a little YouTube snippet out actually with Randall was talking about the genesis of Malcolm Bendall's breakthrough technology that used a lot of what Randall's work on sacred geometry was based on, and ancient Vedic wisdom. And it's a fascinating story. It's only like about an 18-minute video, but that's a snippet from Outlawed where Randall talks about it. And he went on Rogan, but it's not released yet. But he's going to talk about how they're using this technology maybe to power cars. Not fully, but perpetually once you get the thing started.
I'm checking to see if it's out yet.
No, it's not. No. I don't think. I mean, I would really surprise me if it is. I think it's going to be. There's a bunch of things in the works right now, and it's.
Looks like Jordan Peterson was still the last episode. He's coming to town again.
I really hope Joe. I hope it doesn't get edited, and I hope Randall gets a chance because it is an amazing Genesis story about. Imagine free energy coming from ancient wisdom, like directly, and Randall being involved in bringing that to the world. It's an amazing story. Yeah.
Anyway, point of the story is GrimericaOutlaw.ca. Check that out if you want to check out some other fantastic podcasts. While you're over there, head over to Grimericans.ca/support because this show needs your support like a motherfucker. We need you guys to sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation or send some value back our way. Whatever you think, let us know or send us an email and tell us why you think we're shit and why you don't think we're worth fuck all, but you still decide to listen. So if you are listening, you're getting some value. Maybe your drive to work's a little better. Maybe you're laughing. Maybe this, maybe that. Head over to Grimerica.ca/support. Sign up today for a monthly. Make a one-time donation. $1 a month. That's all we ask. 5's better. 10's even cooler. But you sign up. You decide. We'd love you for it. And it would help the show keep going, keep growing. And it would let us know that we're not taken for granted out here in the podcast realm. We know you guys have a lot of options. And we appreciate you choosing us. Now we just want some cash so that we can pay our bills and we don't have to watch Graham go homeless because he took a vow of poverty. So don't let that happen.
Back to my day job. I got, I was going to say to you, when you're talking about being in a dream and not caring anymore, is time going by faster for you right now?
Faster than what? I mean, I have a kid, so
the normal
time starts going by pretty quick once you have kids.
Oh yeah, I mean it's flying. But I don't have kids, and I'm working from home, and at the time is flying like unbelievably fast right now. I can't even.
I could see that for you because every day starts to be sort of the same.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe because, obviously it's a good thing because it doesn't feel like I'm working. Like it doesn't feel like a job, like a traditional job. So,
well, they say time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, I enjoy my job. I really don't hate it, especially now that I'm home office based. It's just, I'm living the fucking dream. So I don't know. Winter time always seems to be going by fast, retroactively. But when I was like waiting for Egypt to come up, it was kind of slow. The last week of Egypt was slow and I was homesick. I don't know. Time seemed to be in fast mode when Shasta wasn't selling. But then when it started selling, it all sorts of slows down. I mean, it does seem crazy that Shasta is like, 9 days away? You know? But it's going to be a great little trip. I'm excited to travel again. And I mean, I can leave on Thursday and be home on Monday. And it'll be a good test to see how the airlines are doing. I mean, we're still doing fucking vaccine passports to get in, so there's that. I need to commit fraud to enter the USA. So, something to think about. Anyway, what do you got for us? Anything else?
I got a quote if you want it.
All right, I'm not going to play the jingle because I'm in Spotify now.
Okay. It is not the end of the physical body that should worry us. Rather, our concern must be to live while we're alive, to release our inner selves from the spiritual death that comes with living behind a facade designed to conform to external definitions of who and what we are.
Mark Twain.
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Oh, man, I was feeling good about that.
Oh, I wanted to mention so the Mark Twain thing came up because I was just
Elizabeth
on the
Kielbasa.
Kubler-Ross. I was just on the Union of the Unwanted and Mark Twain. People were typing in Mark Twain quotes just like an hour ago.
Right now on Union? How was it?
It was great. And the other synchronicity I had that I forgot to tell you about was I just finished reading a book for Outlawed Tomorrow. It's called The Occult. What is it called? The Occult Roots of Feminism. And I swear there's a paragraph that I just read some of this paper here for the show tonight, this Wizard of Oz one. I swear I read the same paragraph that was quoted in the book about theosophy.
Really? Did you see my new chickens?
No, I didn't see your new chickens.
I think you'd appreciate it. They got crazy hairdos. So
I did see that. I didn't know that was your chickens.
You seen the ones of them in the coop?
Yeah.
That one there?
No, not that one.
Look at the hair on them fucking things. It's cool. They're Polish hens. Polish.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, they're pretty cool.
Is a chicken a hen then or no?
Yes.
What? Really?
Well,
or a hen is
maybe
a chicken?
A chicken is a species and a hen is a female.
Oh, I see. Okay. Huh.
I had to take the roosters with them. So I had to kill them.
How'd that go?
Well, that shit they say about when you chop a chicken's head off is true.
It goes for a rooster too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that thing, my fucking garage looks like I murdered somebody in it because this thing fucking just like took off the table and like, well, all the while, I mean, graphic alert, but it was like spurting blood out of where its head used to be. Well, it was flopping around my garage and I was holding its feet and it was flopping so violently
that you let it go?
That I couldn't hold on to it. And then it was like, I came in, I had blood like sprayed across my face and a bunch went in my mouth. So that was the second one. The first one fucking got away from me and I was chasing it around my garage for a little while. So Headless? It was, the chickens are a lot more chill. This is what I was thinking.
It got away from you.
No. This was still what I was trying to get out of the box. Because the chickens, you can just go grab them. They're very docile. You could just literally, my chickens, I could go lay their head on the block and chop it off. I haven't done that to my chickens. I let my chickens sort of live it out into retirement because my kids got attached to them. But my thought process was the roosters would be just very similar. It's this little rooster. He's going to be chill. But those motherfuckers were fucking uppity, like right away.
Did you
open the box, out of the box, flying around, yelling at me? So I ended up fucking the first one. I ended up just clocking it with a piece of conduit, and that fucking because I couldn't get it. I kept trying to get it. It flies over to here because they can't really fly, but they kind of can fly.
Oh my God.
Just
So
enough
it's a
to
whole
drive
battle in the
fucking-
garage.
Well, it was a short battle, maybe like, a minute or two of, it would have been funny to see for sure. I ultimately got the upper hand.
Did you eat him then?
Well, I froze them right now because I had stuff out for tonight, and it was just Sean and I last night, so chicken's too much, but we'll eat it next week. Here's the thing, I just got new chickens, so it's best if we just don't eat a full chicken for a couple weeks with the kids, so they're highly suspecting that we're going to eat some chickens and replace them right now, so they're kind of watching me. I don't know how they could catch on, but if they look in the garage, they're going to be like, what the fuck happened in here? So, whatever. It's life, man. It's life. I would have rather kept the roosters there and just not taken them. And like you said, you were just like, well, just release them into the wild. But then they're just going to like slowly freeze to death or starve to death or, get eaten by coyotes or something. So, but
At least they'd have a chance at their freedom.
Ultimately, the second one, I'm assuming it was dead after its head was cut off, and all that other shit was just like, I don't know what the fuck. But the first one, I mean, it went down knowing it was in a battle for its life. That's a good way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be in Valhalla.
All right, what else you got, motherfucker?
I got a bio for Trevor.
Let's have it.
So he originally studied cellular and molecular biology at Cal State, and then he switched careers and became a physical therapist. And then after earning his doctorate in physical therapy, he worked his way into the healthcare administration, and he was managing like 20 healthcare agencies across the Western states. And then as he was discouraged by that system, he began considering a career change, and after having kids, and he became increasingly aware of his mortality, and as time sped up. No, I'm just kidding about that part. As a 25-year type 1 diabetic with poor control, he became hyper-focused on his health and took control of his blood glucose levels. This further motivated a career change, and he returned to Loma Linda University for his PhD. His work now focuses on the effect of high-intensity interval training on whole genome expression and aging processes. His recent study identified significant changes to mRNA degradation pathways, cancer pathways, and autophagy pathways following just 12 sessions of high-intensity interval training. The same study identified a 3.59-year biological age reversal in exercise group participants. Now he writes on the topic of aging theory and longevity interventions. He also develops novel biological age prediction algorithms and is a U.S. biomedical patent holder on this topic. He's got something coming up that you can buy, I guess, a kit or something to tell your biological age. So. Good on you,
We're
Trevor.
going to find out Graham's biological age.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hoot. We'll find out who's biologically older. I'll give you a buffer of 11 years.
All right.
All right, guys, enjoy the chat. Trevor Lohman.
Trevor Lohman, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, this will be a blast.
In relation to Matt?
Is there a Matt Lohman? I don't know.
Isn't
No,
it?
Lohmeyer.
Lohmeyer. Matt
Yeah.
Lohmeyer, right. That's
Maybe.
right.
there's quite a few of us. It's not as rare of a last name as I thought it was at one point. But yeah, thanks for having me. I'm a huge fan of your guys' show. I've been listening for 5 years, I think.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah, that's great, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
Is it
you were
getting
saying
better or worse or the
yeah.
same or
Same, which is a compliment because I liked it. I remember my wife was going on a trip to Vegas for work, and so we had a 6-month-old. So I went with her, and couldn't really leave the room, obviously, with the baby. So I just hung out in the room, and I'm like, okay, I need to start finding some new podcasts, And I think I heard you guys on No Agenda, and the very first episode was the coffee enema that I listened to.
That'll get you hooked right away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Graham used to be a character. He's really calmed down since he doesn't leave the house anymore. We got to get him like out of the house doing stuff again. Remember, he used to like try and burn down hot yoga studios.
Yeah. I had quite the adventure. Yeah. Yeah. No, I just like being at home now. That's it. That's my new life. Yeah. So you mentioned our Dr. Antoun episode.
Yeah.
I didn't know that would be somewhat controversial. I guess I guess it wasn't controversial, but somebody gave us some feedback. That was
what was the controversy? You just said it was kind of.
It was just but I mean, to me, I think it's the type of thing that I think people need to know about.
Go ahead.
I wanted to know if you thought that what you thought about what he was saying about basically plant-based versus meat-based and stuff like that, because you're looking into this longevity stuff, right? So is he on the nose with that, or are these carnivore guys got a point too?
Well, I mean, so nutrition research is terrible. It's you can make any point you want to make. So if you're trying to make a point about veganism or carnivore or keto, or you can make the point. A lot of it's epidemiological, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. You're basically just looking at.
Does that mean like is that like racism?
What's that?
Is that like racism?
Epidemiological?
Yeah.
No, maybe, I don't know. Everything is, I guess, now. So,
does that mean like different ethnicities should be eating different foods?
Oh, no. It just means so you're not designing an experiment and testing a hypothesis. You're just looking at data that already exists, and you're saying, okay, let's send a survey to 1 million people, ask them what they eat, and then ask them if they have heart disease and when they got it. And then, okay, now we'll make some correlation and say, you're 20% more likely to get heart disease if you're eating meat. But you're not controlling for any confounders. You're not controlling for, are they eating meat on a cheeseburger? Are they eating elk like Darren? What are they actually eating? And then there's also, healthy user bias. If you're vegan, most likely you care about your health, so you're doing all these other things like exercising, getting outside, eating whole plant foods are healthy, so now his point isn't it's actually not that controversial in the aging community. There's this pathway called the mTOR signaling pathway, and pretty much every intervention that scientists think will extend lifespan affects that pathway. That's sort of the focus of everything. I mean, that's what we saw in my exercise trial we just did. We saw mTOR1 inhibition, which is what you want in an intervention that extends lifespan. Caloric restriction inhibits mTORC1. Fasting inhibits mTORC1. mTOR1 mTOR is a nutrient sensing pathway, and the nutrient it senses is protein. So when protein is around, it promotes growth, and kind of counterintuitively, growth and aging they antagonize one another. So the more growth there's going on in a body, the more rapidly it's aging. The thing is, though, high protein diets are great for body composition. So it's kind of like, what do you want to die of? High protein diets are going to improve most likely your body fat percentage, your BMI, your visceral fat. They tend to. You can find evidence pointing to both things. So he's not wrong. The thing about mTOR signaling is it's a protein pathway. It's not an animal protein pathway. So, technically it's triggered by any protein consumption. So I don't know. The carnivore diet kind of makes me nervous. I'm not a nutrition expert. I'm an expert in aging pathways. So the only thing I can really speak to is mTOR. Protein does agonize mTOR. And, you know, the other signaling pathway that affects aging is insulin signaling. So that's carbohydrates. So it depends what you're replacing the animal protein with. If you're replacing it with carbohydrates, you know, his diet, or not diet, but his product, it's not really a fasting product. You know, the fasting mimicking diet idea. It's good marketing because people are into fasting right now. And that's not an insult. I mean, it is good marketing. What it is a very low calorie ketogenic diet. It's 5 days of low calorie, no protein, no sugar. It's polyunsaturated fat for 5 days. And that is absolutely going to be healthy, I think. You're completely cutting out the mTOR pathway. You're completely cutting out sirtuins. You're completely cutting out insulin signaling. So I'm all for it. I actually want to buy it and try it.
We're thinking about that too, actually. So, but do you think, does it still make your body think you're fasting though?
It does. It makes those, you know, it depends what the beneficial effects of fasting are. If the beneficial effects of fasting are those two pathways, then absolutely. You know, there's microbiology is so complex. I mean, these pathways are so interconnected. They're so crazy. But I think, hey, for 5 days, if you can inhibit mTOR signaling and insulin signaling, and you don't have any adverse effects of that, I mean, like I said, I'm going to try. I'm type 1 diabetic, so you know that's fasting is kind of tough for me. You can do it, but if you do get low blood sugar, obviously you have to break it. You have to eat something. But so yeah, I want to give it a shot. You guys are thinking about doing it?
Yeah. I'm gonna do it for sure.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I might see just what happens to Graham. I mean, I might just see what his is, and maybe I'll just see what comes in his thing, and maybe I'll just copy it.
Yeah,
I might have it figured out just from what you just said there, just on the polyunsaturated fats. I mean, yeah, I could just Google that and just eat that shit, right?
Sure. I mean, it's 5 days of keto and caloric restriction, basically. And caloric restriction is probably the best intervention for lifespan extension. It's debatable whether that should be fasting or just eating 500 fewer calories a day.
How many? So I'm pretty good here because I don't do a lot of calories. How many calories are in coffee though? I do a lot of coffee. Not black. No, I do coffee and 4 cream and 4 sugar. No, I'm just kidding. I do coffee and 3 cream.
I thought you were off the sugar.
I am off the sugar.
Are you drinking it or are you taking it the way Graham takes it?
I'm off the sugar. I'm just kidding. I just do coffee and 3 cream. Every once in a while, I'll put a little doppel of maple syrup in there just for shits and gigs. But it's mostly just coffee and cream.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the chapters in the book I'm writing is about hydration. And so really, you know, there's lots of good stuff in coffee. People criticize the caffeine.
That's the best part, in my opinion.
Right.
No, I'm off. I'm almost down to no coffee, and I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
no
but you don't
coffee
leave your house, so
soon.
this is a terrible case. So the Graham's not drinking coffee at all, but he just never leaves the house. So it's just like,
what does that have to do with it? I'm just saying.
Well, get out there, do some stuff, and like be cruising around with your nice coffee, and you're drinking your coffee. Maybe you're smoking a little weed. You're listening to some tunes.
No.
Where do you sing now?
Well, never mind about that.
Okay.
I say go for drinking coffee. I used to roast coffee. I'm a fan. So
did you?
How do you do that? How do you do that? Can I make my own coffee? Like grow my own beans and roast them?
Can't grow your own beans up there. Maybe
what if I got like a grow light?
Maybe. I don't know.
I might.
But
try
I love
that
what
shit.
Jahan Sitar said. I don't know if you heard that episode on our Grimerica Outlawed show, but he's done a lot of good research. I think he's gone pretty deep into the research of caffeine and how it limits your neural pathways or something, or the activity in your brain. Like it kind of just keeps you going tunnel vision with a bit of energy, but it doesn't really allow you to take in some sort of big picture analysis. I can't really explain his thing, but I felt like he'd done all the research, so I wanted to give him a chance.
But that's for like other people, because I mean,
I would go with what he says over me. I don't know as much about it for sure. Yeah, sorry, Darren.
If I had like a problem with those things, then I would like consider that maybe coffee's a thing. But I feel like, you know, I don't feel like you don't have a problem with those things either. You know what I mean? Maybe you could do it. Maybe you could be better at it. But I mean, I smoke a lot of weed too. Weed and coffee is like my bing, 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 back and forth, bing, 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 bing. So
It's a good point, but I don't want to get into what we have problems with and stuff like that. But
Bing, bing, bing.
I do agree with you that it's not like fixing a huge problem, but I'm interested in feeling the cognitive difference if possible. That's all.
I just like to get you out of the house, right?
No,
I think is the number one problem.
Dude, I finally love being at home. I mean,
You
I
guys don't-
just love being at home.
I gave up on the
don't even
gym
have
finally. I
Good
got a
coffee
Bowflex.
shop there, Isn't it just Timmy? What's the place called? Horton?
Starbucks and Tim Hortons, yeah.
Tim Hortons, yeah.
McDonald's, dude. I'm telling you.
McDonald's has the
That's where I get my
apparently it has
coffee now.
good coffee.
Yeah. I get my coffee at McDonald's whenever not like whenever I can. I prefer to make it at home. But if I'm getting a coffee out, we got McDonald's, Tim Hortons, Starbucks. That's really about it. Starbucks is dropping fast, though. It's dropping. The fucking locations are closing like crazy. It's great.
That's right. Need some good coffee in your life. I'm with you, Graham. Just make it at home, but then leave the house, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. So is that thing you're talking
There's
about?
definitely
with that-
health benefits to leaving the house.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's also health benefits about being content to just staying home and not having to leave the house.
I feel like I've struck a nerve with you guys here.
Yeah, that's good. We got to do this every once in a while with someone that's a fan of the show. And we're kind of comfortable with just airing our dirty laundry out in front of,
Yeah, I normally don't hear you very much in the interviews, Darren.
Well, yeah, no, I'm producing.
It's too much coffee.
It depends. It's too much coffee and too much weed. It depends what they're interviewing about, because like Graham's reading the books and he's doing all that, and I'm coming off the street, and sometimes I can I get real into it, and other times I'm just like, what the fuck are they talking about? So but if I can also notice if Graham's having a bad day, and I can step in and fill the roles for him. But a lot of times,
What you guys should do,
I'm here to crack jokes.
what you guys should do if you're having a debate about a particular thing like coffee, you can, because you guys are both pretty interested in longevity interventions generally, right?
Yeah.
You can have your biological age measured pretty cheaply now.
I'm kind of scared now.
How do we do that? I mean, I'd be a lot more interested in that kind of stuff if I was Graham. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm just less worried about it because I'm in good shape.
That's what I did in my research, was we measured the biological age of people before and after exercise. But there's like commercial kits available. I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of scammy ones, so just be careful. But
Ooh, what's a good one? Maybe we'll do this. Will be a good thing for the show to see how old we are biologically. Watch, Graham will be like 25 and I'll be like 60.
maybe I made one, but it's not available yet, so I'm not shamelessly going to plug it. There's a DNA methylation predictor, which is considered kind of the best. It's kind of expensive though, but it's by Elysium Health. They make a lot of supplements and stuff. It's called Index, I think, and so they license a patent from Yale. Yale does a bunch of biological age stuff, so and it's pretty accurate. So you basically, I mean, age is the strongest predictor of almost every negative health outcome. So time to death, time to cancer, time to heart disease, time to everything. If you're going to have one piece of information about somebody, that's the most insightful
chronological age.
information. Yeah, they're just their chronological age. But even still, I mean, you guys probably know 2 65-year-olds who have completely different health. One might be in the hospital with heart disease and one's training for a marathon. So biological age clocks are kind of this idea that you can measure that. And then if they're good enough, you can measure the effects of something. You could do it before, you do it today, and then go on the 5-day, prolonged fast, and then do it again. And so it's becoming popular in the biohacking, circles. The idea is that people live too long to study aging interventions in, because if you want to see if fasting makes people live longer, you're going to have to wait 40 years. And so grants are on timelines. You got to publish in a year, so the idea was to come up with some sort of way to measure that. And so that's one way to do it.
What are some of the new, I mean, you sent me some information about some of the modern aging theories. Like there's that X differentiation, and it seems like they're realizing that the cells are not only, what did you mention? The cells there's information that has a weird role in there somehow.
Yeah,
Cellular
there's
information.
there's a lot going on. No one everyone has a lot of really good ideas, and it starts to be that they all kind of sound like they make sense. So the old idea, like back in the 1900s, even before then, was that we had some sort of metabolic limit. So there was a certain amount of energy we could expend, and then after that we died, and so that's of course not correct. Marathon runners would all be gone in their teens, so some of there's a lot of modern ideas about why we get old and why we age. There's a glycation hypothesis. There's a mitochondrial theory. There's telomere shortening. Really, more and more, it's looking like aging is pre-programmed. There's no physical limit. There's no reason why we have to die at 8. I mean, there is, because we do, but we don't run out of anything. There's not a telomere cap that is eliminated and then we die. And so there are creatures that live forever. I mean, there are these flatworms called planaria, and they live forever. You can cut them in half, and now they both have the same memories, and they live forever. You can cut them in 100 pieces. I think there's a record. There's a really good interview. If people are interested in this stuff, there's this guy named Michael Levin, and he studies this stuff. He was on Lex Friedman recently. You can cut this thing in 200 pieces, and they all have the same memory. So there's no limit. It's pre-programmed. And one of the theories I like the most is by this guy named David Sinclair.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to summarize. Yeah.
And that's X differentiation. And he gets some criticism because he's gotten some stuff wrong. Like, he was a big proponent of resveratrol. Like, he went on Rogan and talked about that. And I don't know. He's a big proponent of metformin, which does seem to work. That's a pharmaceutical that does seem to extend lifespan. But basically what he believes, human DNA is wrapped around these things called histone proteins. And there's 8 of them, and every set of 8 histones has 2 strands of DNA wrapped around them. And there's millions of these. And our DNA is so long, it needs to be organized in the cell. And so histones are kind of like these organizing tools that store DNA. And when you need to express a protein, the DNA unwinds in the particular area where it needs to be translated. And so as we age, that process starts to break down, and he refers to it as DNA unspooling. Your DNA starts to unspool, and your cells start to lose their identity. So liver cells start to look a lot like heart cells, and heart cells start to look a lot like fat cells. And basically everything just starts losing its pre-specified purpose within the organism. And so there's a lot of attention on histone acetylation, drugs that prevent histone acetylation. And so I think that's the theory of aging. That's the current best theory of why we age. And there's potentially evolutionary reasons for that, if you believe in that. Anyway, so I'll let you ask another question, but do
you believe in that?
You know what? I man, we're going to get off the deep end here, but I have for most of my life. I mean, there's too much evidence for adaptation. I mean, creatures adapt to their environment, and they pass those adaptations on to their offspring. And we can prove that in all sorts of animal models. And I'm not an expert in that.
Like trait more than traits?
What's that?
More than traits, like just full adaptation. Like, does that mean you're almost changing species then too? Or
I don't know that there's great evidence of that anyway.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where I'm going. I mean, people talk about that there is evidence of a particular moth that they can show has switched species. I don't know. I said, I'm not an expert in it, but there are a lot of issues with evolution, and there are certain categories of science where people start to philosophize a lot. Archaeology is one of them. I know you guys are into that stuff, and evolution is another one. And they start to use words like sprung forth and appeared, and they just they don't know. They don't really know how these. There's a term called an irreducibly complex system. And people who know about this guy, they might already be rolling their eyes, not on your show, but there is a religious microbiologist who kind of makes a case for, he goes all the way to intelligent design. I'm not necessarily going that far, maybe, but there are some things that we just really can't explain about evolution.
I'll go that far. I mean,
okay.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, everything else seems to be intelligent design. So I would say it's an adaptation is an interesting way to look at it, because maybe it is adaptation instead of evolution, but I don't see what the difference is, I guess, between adaptation and evolution, but every fucking thing else is intelligent design, it sure seems like. Or it's some weird electric model with rules that are so fucking good at mimicking intelligent design that we don't understand. It's crazy. But even that itself would sort of imply intelligent design, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so think of, and this is an example that, people like Dawkins can, I guess, disprove. But the thing is, it's not a very complex example. So like an eye. People talk about, well, how could you evolve an eye? Because the whole premise of natural selection is that each new adaptation has to be useful, and it has to be so useful that it gets spread to everyone else. Like that person who has that adaptation has more offspring than any of the other individuals in that population. So you can't just evolve a lens for an eye, because you need everything. You need the retina, you need the lens, you need the cornea, you need the iris. And that's the easy part. You need the neurochemical layers below it. You need the crazily complex, signaling molecules, and you need so that's, he calls that an irreducibly complex system. It's like, okay, it's one thing. Not only do you have to evolve all the parts for the iPhone, but you have to evolve them at the same time in the same population and make them all work together for that to be useful. So I think there's natural selection. Yes. I mean, there absolutely yes. As a serious person doing, science and looking at the way biology works. Yeah. Natural selection. But I think there are some problems with evolution as the origin of humans and animals. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so what would some of those be then?
Well, one is that this is not my area. So
No, that's okay. We can speculate about it, because, I was going to make a comment about the eye thing, because if you watch that show by Caroline Corey and you see people being trained all over the world to be able to see without their eyes,
yeah.
There's a spiritual implication on this too, right? That there's stuff that we can do, like being superhuman, that these scientists will never accept, right? But there's kids playing sports and doing things without their eyesight. They've learned how to do this. Even adults have too, but it's harder for them.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because it's a type of adaptation that doesn't have anything to do with natural selection. It's just
yeah. And but maybe we got eyes because we didn't want to. It's easier, right? It was like
I would say irreducibly complex systems is the biggest issue that's completely unaddressed. Things like our ability to form a clot in response to an injury artery. The layers of complexity in terms of adaptations that would have had to have happened simultaneously is pretty wild. Maybe I just don't understand it. But reading this stuff, it does kind of boggle the mind. So that is a major issue. Also, just origin of life is a major issue. We're really just guessing when we talk about replicators, which is like an early form of RNA that was, just somehow came together and happened to fit with these other interlocking molecules. And, what they do is they turn to infinite time as a solution to all problems in evolution. You say, well, that sounds ridiculous. How would that ever happen? And they just say, well, billions of years, hundreds of billions of years. With enough time, everything is possible. And maybe I'm not saying that's impossible at all, but it's definitely a theory. And I'm saying this as someone who everyone I work with, I would not ever have this conversation with.
Yeah, I know.
Because the question, and of course, this is my real name going out here, so I am job hunting. So hopefully, but it is very much, especially when it comes to origin of life. If you want to get to speciation, maybe with enough time, certainly adaptation and natural selection. Yeah.
So what about that big gap, the Cambrian
explosion? Yeah. Again, I'm not an expert. I agree that is a problem, because it kind of gets rid of the infinite time argument because
Yeah.
because you're saying, well, hey, you have
Everything got reset then, didn't it?
but then you're also saying, well, it all happened right here in this little narrow time. So yeah, it's an issue. You can find articles from smart people who feel like they can explain it, but I read it and I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't know. It seems we think about all the things we thought we knew about certain things, and then it turns out we were wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody knows. We're all just kind of guessing.
Isn't there still missing links for how us as Homo sapiens got here? I mean,
oh yeah, oh
like from a monkey or however they say. Like I don't know.
And every once in a while, people say we found it, and then that's not it. There's even been fakes. There's this good book called The Seven Daughters of Eve. Don't ask me too much about this because it's not my area, but this guy says that you can trace all people on Earth back to 7 women. So it's the 7 daughters of Eve.
Oh my God.
And they use mitochondrial DNA to do that because mitochondrial DNA is pure. It comes from your mother only. So it's not half father, half mother. Mitochondria are amazing too. We can talk about them. And actually mitochondria are the biggest, most amazing thing that happened during evolution, the evolution of the eukaryotic cell. But
wow.
Anyway, so they say you can trace it back to these 7 women, but then who was before that? And so they found this all started because they found a frozen 5,000-year-old man in the Alps, in the Italian Alps. And so they were able to look at his DNA and I guess somehow figure that out. But I bring that up because people have faked missing links before. And that's something they talk about in the book. The people will put a chimpanzee jaw on a human skeleton and bury it and then find it.
Oh my God. Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and now, but haven't they found 9 homos now? Like there's nine different ones, the Denisovans and Homo sapiens. And
I don't think you're
supposed to use that. I don't think you're supposed to call them homos. I was like, are they gay?
Again, really like so out of my area, but yes, that's my understanding. Yeah. And so,
they basically found the giant. It's almost like they found the small giants and the hobbits and the different humans. And I mean, we're getting closer to Tolkien as we go along here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I lost my train. So mitochondria. I mean, you guys have probably heard this, but the idea is that, and this was really controversial up into like a few decades ago, that they were bacteria. And so somehow these bacteria got into our cells and figured out how to survive within our cell by producing ATP. And so when you look at mitochondria, they have a completely different genome than our nuclear genome. It's a different organism that lives inside of our cell. It does its own division. It does its own protein transcription. It is truly its own organism. And that is kind of the miracle of evolution that's pointed to as kind of like, that's what has to happen for life to emerge, intelligent life to emerge. And it's just almost impossibly unlikely.
Unless it was planted there. But,
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
I mean, they say it's bacteria. It came from bacteria, but I mean, I don't know.
But that's the thing. That's a big jump. Like that's a difficult, irreducibly complex system for this bacteria to go from being its own creature to getting inside of one of our cells and starting to make fuel for that cell.
Sounds like toxoplasmosis-ish.
Yeah.
Speaking
or
of
like
that,
Anunnaki, fucking throw some pig in this shit and let's see what happens.
You like that? If I was going to try to make the case, right, that we were made by something, that's one thing I would point to. Like that seems like an intervention, But again, really, I that's not my area at all. So
what about NAD for aging and for anti-aging and like the cellular energy, like getting NAD injections, or I was using for a while there that nicotinamide riboside as the precursor to NAD. Like, is that part of this whole research? Are people still on that? That was a few years ago, I think. With the book that I'm trying to write and my work, I try to be super, super research based. I mean, obviously science has a lot of issues, right? But
I think for the most part, it's just people trying to do a good job, and when it comes, there's only a handful of interventions that really show lifespan extension potential in humans. And NAD, the research on NAD is not particularly amazing, I would say. Now, that said, there are studies you can find that show positive results, but
positive results for other things, maybe, but not necessarily.
Right. Energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard you could clean up opioids right out of your system, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even realize that. So I don't know that I've ever come across any harm from it. So I don't have a strong opinion on NAD. I mean, the big things that seem to modify lifespan are exercise, caloric restriction, and eliminating fructose from your diet. And sun exposure is a big one. Hydration is a
sun exposure in a positive
just getting
way?
sun. Just getting sun. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other thing that science kind of had wrong, is sun exposure. So
yeah.
One of the articles I read
getting
said
sun with sunscreen or without?
Without. Yeah. I don't want someone to get cancer and blame me, but basically sunburns cause skin cancer. Absolutely. But just getting sun, and being outdoors, is incredibly good for you. It's linked to decreased mortality risk of every kind. It makes you sleep better. It's a big deal, especially between the early morning hours. If you can get outdoors,
that red shift.
Yeah. And if you can get outdoors, like depending on where you live, but like between 7 and 8 a.m., you're going to sleep a lot better. And so that might actually be why you live longer.
Is that because you're resetting your circadian clock kind of, or you're just sort
absolutely.
of making sure that's.
It's just as important as not looking at a bright phone after 11. Yeah. A bright phone or computer.
Wow. Fuck.
Yeah. And so, the studies on, melatonin and stuff, basically early morning sun exposure and no bright screens after 11. Some people say that if it's dim, it's not as big of a deal. Not so much the color, blue and red. The focus used to be on blue light, red light, but really just brightness is what they think is the big deal. So, and then fructose, basically what they think, again, going back to evolution, is that we evolved, whether we evolved it or we just have it, who knows, but we evolved a fructose fat conversion mechanism to survive the winter. So there was a lot of fruit laying around in the fall. And so primates, migratory birds, whatever, would eat a bunch of fruit over the course of a couple of weeks. And so we just have this mechanism for converting fructose into fat rapidly. And so we don't eat much fructose in the form of fruit. We get the majority of our fructose from sugar, which is half fructose, half glucose. And so that combination actually seems even worse than just eating fructose from fruit. So atherosclerosis, heart disease, obesity, you can trace that pretty well to the introduction of refined sugar and high fructose corn syrup, and to the 50s, the 40s, 50s, 60s. So
what about maple syrup in there and honey, like raw honey and maple syrup?
Maple syrup has fructose for sure. I don't know what the ratio is. So does honey, but I don't think anything is going to come close to just refined sugar. I wouldn't worry too much about that other stuff. Yeah. Refined sugar just, it just turns into fat. I mean, that there's that mechanism. And then an interesting thing about hydration is when you're dehydrated, your body for some reason produces fructose. So there's been some studies now linking dehydration to weight gain, to fat gain specifically.
Wow. So what's this 8 glass of water a day thing? Has that been just like
I don't know.
Fucking throw something at the wall there and hope that it's stuck? And what's your hydration recommendation?
I don't really have one. I drink water when I feel thirsty. I don't know. But basically what they've done is they've drawn blood and they've looked at something called the osmolality and the sodium concentration. And people who have higher sodium concentrations have more fat. It's just like absolutely going to be the case. So
high sodium concentrations?
It just means you're dehydrated. That's how they measure dehydration.
Because okay.
It doesn't mean you're eating sodium necessarily.
No, exactly. Is that why they think that salt levels are always too high? Because I heard that you need salt to help transport the water all around your body. It's an important combination.
Yeah. I mean, this is one I personally am reading about all the time because I don't know. I mean, you hear about people saying like you need to be adding salt to your water.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you hear about, here's one thing for sure that I believe, and I think the evidence backs up, is that sodium is not the cause of chronic high blood pressure. I mean, it could be. When you drink, or sorry, when you eat something salty, your blood pressure goes up. There's no doubt about it, but it's acute. It's transitory. When you exercise, your blood pressure goes up. There's this guy named Gary Taubes. I'm not exactly sure how to say his last name, but Gary Taubes. He writes about bad science. That's his thing. He's a science journalist. He broke the cold fusion scam in Utah. He wrote this book about what a horrible person this guy was, who had just won a Nobel Prize. I think his name's Carlos Rubia, for the Higgs boson particle. Like, that's what he does. And his thing that he's on right now is the DASH diet, which is I don't even remember what it stands for, but the diet to prevent hypertension. And it basically just means eat less salt. And so he's interviewed these people and they don't want to talk about it. Like he says he kind of has a nose for bad science.
Wow. He'd be a good guy to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. He's you guys could get him. He's a pretty interesting guy. He wrote Good Calories, Bad Calories, which is about sugar. So he's written a lot of good books on that, but basically that fructose is the cause of hypertension. Absolutely. Not salt. And interestingly, it's not even the amount of salt you eat that influences your blood pressure. It's the concentration. So you could have a really high sodium content meal, but if it's dissolved in a big bowl of broth and you're drinking a glass of water, it really won't affect your blood pressure as much. So that another recommendation in the book is drinking water with meals. But I know that's controversial.
Did you just tell me that? Was it you that told me to drink water with me? No, my buddy Mike, who I sent your email to because I wanted because he's into all this stuff too, and from a real layman's perspective. Like he's got all this knowledge in his head, he doesn't know what to do with it. I'm like, start a podcast or do something, dude. Like, he's even got ideas for supplements and stuff, and he's coming up with all these awesome ideas. But he needs to reach out to me. I've bugged every single one of my friends into starting a podcast. So yeah. And he was saying that you need to drink while you're eating, which is complete. I've been not drinking while eating because I heard that it ruins the digestion process. But he's saying, especially with carbs and sugar or something, you drink while you're eating. It's pretty basic science. I mean, I teach physiology. So one of the things we talk about is concentration gradients. And one way to decrease the concentration gradient between the inside of your stomach or inside your small intestine and your bloodstream is by adding water. That immediately decreases the concentration of whatever you're eating. So yeah, you can definitely decrease absorption of sodium and sugar that way. So what about the myth that you weren't supposed to drink because you ruin the way your stomach's the stomach acid and stuff, and it takes long. It was like harder on your digestion or something. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I usually see that. I have seen that before. I have even seen like, you don't need to drink water at all. We should be getting all of our water from our food. Maybe there was a time when that was true. I don't know. I usually see that stuff on like Instagram reels. So I don't know. I don't know the validity of it. I haven't come across, and maybe I'm sure they're out there. Someone hopefully will send them to me, but I haven't come across that in journals. I should mention though that, my area really is exercise and biological age. Everything else is just, I'm like I don't know. I'm an interested novice just because I know how to read the papers and I read them, but I'm sure there's people who know more. So then what kind of, because you mentioned in your book coming up that you haven't finished yet, but it's, speaking of exercise, you have the HIIT in there and the biological age prediction from that. So is the HIIT a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah, so it's a good thing. We can't say for certain that it's better or worse than other forms of exercise. What we did is we took a bunch of sedentary people between the ages of 40 and 65. Don't look at me, Darren. and we had them do what's called a 10x1 HIIT interval. So they do like a 2-minute warm up, and then they do 1 minute of pretty high intensity exercise, 77 to 93% of your age adjusted max heart rate. So you just do that for a minute, then you take a minute break. Then you do it for a minute, you take a minute break. You do that 10 times.
It's called a 10x1. There's lots of different ones. There's Tabata. There's all these things. We just picked this because it was considered safe for sedentary people. And when you're getting a study approved by IRB, you just want to pick something safe, especially when you're saying, hey, we're taking older, out of shape people and we're going to do intense exercise. So they want to know, okay, show us the evidence that no one's going to get hurt. So that's what we picked. People got 3.5 years younger after 12 sessions. That's what we found from drawing their blood. Now, of course, they're the same age, but their gene expression changed to reflect that of someone on average 3.5 years younger after 1 month of 3 times a week HIIT sessions. And so that's the study that we just...
And that's just like, so how long exercise? That like 3 minutes? That's like fucking... I mean, that's
no. It's 10 minutes, about 15, 20 minutes, right?
It worked out to about 23 minutes. Yeah. But only 10 minutes of that is exercise. So, I mean, to your point, yeah, it's 10 minutes of exercise.
It's like a hockey. It reminds me of hockey. You just
so if you're banging 3-4 days a week, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
especially if it only lasts 60 seconds, Dan.
Well, then you just do it 10 times.
You're good. We didn't compare it to anything else, though. We just compared it to a control group. So there might be better types of exercise, but I mean, it's like 2 hours of exercise made people 3.5 years younger. If we had the money, we would have done it once a month for a year and seen, how high does it get? Does it get up to 7?
It's gonna, you think it would peak at a point or something, right? Or,
yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating. So what about this rapamycin in Easter Island?
Yeah. So, I just found this out. I've been reading about rapamycin for years. Rapamycin is probably the best. The governments, the world governments have put so much money into aging research, and they have nothing to show for it. Basically,
I wanted to ask you about the elites and aging and stuff. Before we wrap it up.
Yeah. We've so many billions of dollars in grants and stuff, and basically we have caloric restriction. I mean, that came from this big study where they sealed people in this huge complex for two years, and they ended up having less food than they anticipated. So it was an accidental study on caloric restriction. But so until recently, there was basically nothing. And they found that rapamycin, which is an immunosuppressant they give to organ transplant recipients, prevents cancer. That's in humans. But in mice, they found that it has a pretty significant increase in lifespan. I think it's like 30%. I can't remember exactly, and that's given late in life. So it's, we've always thought that if you wanted to extend lifespan, you had to start whatever medication in a child or young person, but this was late in life. So yeah, rapamycin is like the drug that people talk about. There's not a lot of human research. There's a study going on at UCLA right now. You can get it prescribed to you for aging. You just have to there's lists of doctors online that will prescribe it. And so, yeah, I've been reading about it forever. It inhibits the mTOR pathway, just like exercise, just like caloric restriction, just like fasting. So it's like what you want in an aging breakthrough. You want a pill you can take instead of having to, eat less and exercise. And I was looking into it, and it was discovered on Easter Island. So I just thought you guys would think that's interesting. In the 60s, a team of researchers in England was trying to figure out why people who lived on Rapa Nui didn't get tetanus. It was a big deal in the rest of the world. It was a huge deal in places where animals and horses lived, or animals and people lived near each other. And a lot of the people were barefoot, which they were on Rapa Nui, and nobody got tetanus. So they went down there, they took soil samples. The guy didn't find anything particularly interesting other than no tetanus, which didn't make sense because there's animal waste in the soil, so there should be tetanus. So he gave it to a team of researchers at this company called Ayerst. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It eventually turned into Pfizer, interestingly, but they isolated a bacteria in the soil at Easter Island that produces this drug called rapamycin. And so they market it as an immunosuppressant because in high doses, it does suppress the immune system. And then just recently, they've started testing it in humans, and it seems to reduce cancer. It actually seems to improve the immune system in low doses. It's actually one of the drugs that could stop Spanish flu in its tracks. It comes from Easter Island. Now they make it synthetically in pharmaceutical labs.
Yeah, I wonder if people live longer on Easter Island. It's
wonder-
true, we don't have that data, if they're one of those octa or the centenarians
Yeah.
or whatever,
it's one of those things that's like really fun to speculate with like a friend, like
Yeah.
like how is it that this potential thing that makes people live longer is found at this interesting place,
Yeah, exactly.
they make
Where
it.
they have these huge
And is it
statues.
found in any other interesting places?
The bacteria is found in a lot of interesting, a lot of places, but the specific strain that makes rapamycin, I've been trying to actually track this answer down. I can't find it. It does not seem like it's found other places.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Darren, it
people
would be
have
interesting
checked
if it
like
was
at
like-
the pyramids or Chichen
Yeah,
Itza or all
yeah.
these other fucking crazy places around the world and see if it, maybe they seem to be onto a bunch of other shit. I wouldn't be surprised if they were onto that too.
Yeah.
Where do you think they seeded that shit?
I don't know. I mean, it's wild. I mean, we get a lot of medicine from bacteria, so it's not like the craziest thing in the world, I guess, but just the fact that billions and billions and billions of dollars and the best thing we have right now comes from Easter Island. I love it. The other medication is metformin. It's unclear, but there was a trial where diabetics on metformin actually lived longer than non-diabetics not on metformin. So that's pretty wild because you'd expect diabetics to not live as long. So the perfect diabetes medication should only make them live as long, right? But they lived longer. So the idea is that there's something about metformin that extends lifespan, and it makes sense because it improves insulin signaling. So, and that's another one you can get online. It comes from a type of, I want to say French lilac. So it comes from a plant, and then it's just purified and concentrated.
So how come the elites, I mean, they've got all this money. It's just so weird. How come they're not they should be way ahead of us on this. They're all talking about, living longer and all this stuff and health, and they just look horrible too. Like a lot of these guys.
Yeah. I mean,
they're 90, you're like, why wouldn't you be way healthier? I don't know. It's just I guess it's just a human condition of, getting addicted to food and all these other things. I mean, they no matter how much knowledge you have, I guess you still have to
And
put
they're
it in the
loaded
work, right?
too.
Yeah.
So it's even worse. It is, the best of the best of that food. Like, can you imagine some of the spreads? Can you imagine the breakfast buffets and the fucking little snack trays that are around all the time, the little meats and the little cheeses? Oh man, I'd be fat as shit.
that could be part of the answer right there. But I mean, they do live longer, not a lot. I mean, not anything crazy, not twice as long, but very wealthy people live longer than middle class.
That's interesting. Really? That's interesting.
I mean, that's one of the big determinants of health and lifespan is income, and just net worth. But it's nothing like insane. I know they've been talking a lot lately on No Agenda about the organ transplants in China and stuff. And basically you get another maybe 5, 10, 15 years of terrible life from that. So yeah, it doesn't seem like they have it figured out. I mean, maybe it's just one of those things we'll never solve. I don't know. But
I guess I just thought there would have been like dark research that is not sort of open to the public, that they should have figured some of this stuff out already,
There's gotta be. I have to believe there is. I don't know. That's my personality. I feel like, man, because exactly all of these big tech companies and stuff are getting into longevity. Google and Bezos is sponsoring a lot of research. And so you got to think there's some stuff, but the problem is it's difficult to test something, because it's like, okay, here's this thing we'll check on you in 100 years. It's just the nature of designing an experiment around aging is difficult. That's where the biomarkers of aging come in. The one we used was based on mRNA, so it's based on gene expression. There's some based on DNA methylation, and the one I'm making is just based on blood markers. It's just based on 20 blood markers, and it can predict how much longer someone is going to live in the sample we tested on 85% of the time accurately. So
then you can do design your own research studies with that, with that tool, which is great,
exactly.
Right?
You can give people rapamycin and see what happens. Yeah. But I don't know. When I started looking into this, I was kind of like maybe this is a field I can find out something interesting. I used to be in healthcare administration. I didn't like it. And so I kind of started over. At the time, I was very optimistic that there was some breakthrough right around the corner. It just doesn't seem that way. It just seems like one of those things like, and if you believe that aging comes from evolution, just the idea that evolution is incentivized to keep us healthy until our kids are adults. Like that's the driving force of natural selection in terms of aging is you want someone to be having as many kids as possible. So you want them to be really healthy in their like childbearing years. And then you want them to be healthy enough to raise their children until they're about 20. And then by that time, the person's in their 50s, and that's when everything kind of starts to fall apart. And so there are animals that breed late in life, and they over time tend to live longer. Their lifespan tends to go up. There's a study on possums, actually. That's where most theories of aging come from, is this island off the coast of Georgia called Sapelo Island, I believe. And the possums there live like 5 times longer than other possums. And they just found out it's because there's no predators on the island. So these possums are just lounging around, making baby possums into their late years. And over a few thousand years, their lifespans, double or triple.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just might be one of these things we can't influence that much, other than, diet, exercise, fasting, a couple drugs.
Not stressing.
That's a big one. That's maybe the biggest one, actually. So friendship, marriage, actually, sex, diet, exercise. I mean, that's it. Having a community is huge. There's some big studies.
What about a cult? What if you have a cult?
Cults are even better.
Okay,
as long as it's not a death cult. Yeah, you're good.
Sex cults are great.
You're right.
So what about gamma wave, brainwave entrainment?
Oh yeah. I meant to bring this up earlier. So there is a couple studies at MIT where they did a 40 hertz flickering light bulb in front of mice with Alzheimer's, and it reversed Alzheimer's. It stimulated a type of cell called a microglial cell, and it's like a white blood cell of the brain. And it started destroying the plaques inside the brain, the amyloid plaques, the tau proteins, and the Alzheimer's went away. And they found the same thing with sound, 40 hertz sound. And so they're testing it in humans. Basically, light's easy because you can just replace your light bulbs with 40 hertz light. They're seeing some pretty actually surprisingly good stuff. You can't crack a human's head open and measure the amyloid plaques, but they're doing imaging and they're doing blood work and they're just doing cognitive tests. And it seems to be fairly effective. And so I got into this because the researcher next door to the lab where I was doing my research studies laughter. And so he had found that laughter increases 40 hertz gamma frequency, which is the frequency that stimulates glial cells. And so he asked me to help write the paper for him, and we did. So it seems like that might be one of the mechanisms that friendship and community helps people live longer, is it stimulates their brain to produce gamma frequency. And so I thought that was interesting because you guys were talking to, I want to say, the narrator of, BAM, was it BAM, Builders of the Ancient Mysteries? You interviewed a narrator for a movie that was about like Easter Island, how they have similar structures all over the world. Graham Hancock was in it. And they found these caves that are like thousands and thousands of years old that resonate at specific frequencies. And so that's what made me want to mention it to you guys. Because typically in science, when you hear like the word frequency or vibration, like kind of your radar goes up right away. Like, I don't know, this makes me uncomfortable, but man, there's some crazy good studies showing that.
I mean, and it should be opposite because frequency is measurable, right? It's one of the things that we can't see, but it's very measurable.
Right.
You'd think, right? I mean, the hertz and the frequencies. Yeah. I mean, my girlfriend can be in a state of like major stomach pain or having her like, so maybe like a heart palpitation or something. I'll get the singing bowl out and it'll like, it's not all the time, but sometimes it'll like literally like just transform the condition.
You need to figure out what frequency that is. Yeah. You need to somehow figure out a way to measure. I mean, you can do it, but it
almost resets it. I mean, it doesn't get rid of it altogether, but it almost like holds it back, or it almost like resets it or calms it down or something.
You need a didgeridoo.
Yeah.
Then you could clear it. Wow, 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 wow.
That's just gonna make it worse.
Think
Send
so?
her to some other realm. I'll pop her root shocker.
Oh no, where'd she go?
Yeah, you don't want that.
What was I going to ask? Oh, I think was that about 2018 that study or something like that? I know
Yeah.
Adam Loyal was talking about this quite a bit.
I want to say 2016, and then another one came out in 2018.
Yeah,
It was published in Nature, Aging Cell. That type of stuff would normally get kind of ignored if it wasn't for the fact that it was MIT and Cell and Nature. So yeah, it's wild. So it's pretty concrete evidence that light and sound oscillations can cure disease in mice, and who knows what they can do in humans. It could be, preventative or a great treatment. Yeah.
So that 40 hertz was with mice. So would it be a different hertz for us, do you think?
They've done it in humans too.
Okay.
It's just harder to measure, like, because the mice, they kill the mice and they check, what happened to the brain. It's tougher. It's a tougher sell in human research for sure. So, but it looks promising.
Give that another 2 decades.
Maybe that's some of the dark stuff you're talking about, but
save the mice, use the humans.
People cognitive scores go up, and other good things happen. And so basically what happens, your brain, and this is a fact, this is not like a hypothesis. If you put someone on an EEG and look at their brainwaves entrain to whatever the predominant stimuli is around them. So if you have a 10 hertz flickering light or 100 hertz flickering light, your brainwaves move towards that oscillation. And so the more sensory stimuli, the better. Light affects the occipital cortex because that's where we process visual stimulus, and sound is the temporal cortex, and actually the hippocampus, which is a big deal for memory. And so, it seems to be that 40 hertz oscillation in your brain is healthy. And so the fact that laughter causes 40 hertz oscillation is kind of interesting, because what is laughter? It's just such a strange thing to do. Only humans do it, right? And so we're such social creatures, and the fact that friendship makes you live longer, you got to think, it's all connected.
Yeah, and those laughing communities I think they were studying those people that laugh. They have those laughing groups and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
they're pretty healthy.
That actually made the guy, my lab neighbor, want to do a study on fake laughter versus real laughter.
Yeah, well, if you start fake laughing, you'll be laughing in no time. Fake it till you make it. Yeah, just smiling in your face changes. Smiling changes your physiology. It does.
I might have heard this.
How can you be mad if you smile? You can't be mad when you're smiling.
You're fucking psycho.
I was going to say, you look pretty creepy right now.
Totally.
I think I heard this from you guys at or maybe it was another show, but folks who get Botox and stuff become depressed because they don't have enough.
Oh my God, right.
And so that's all connected. I don't, the study isn't published, and it's not my study, but I want to say that they found fake laughter and real laughter basically had the same effect. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm just going to go around fake laughing all the time.
And you'll just be in a great mood all day long. This is the fake.
I'm in a pretty great mood.
Fake it till you make it is a pretty solid philosophy.
I'm in a pretty great mood most of the time as it is. It takes a lot to knock me off of
your high horse.
That too, but this is different. What are you working on next? Where can our listeners track down your stuff? Are you on social media? Can people creep on you there?
Yeah, man. I was thinking I got to start some kind of social media before I come on here. I've got nothing. I have no social media.
I love it. It's like guy after my own heart. The only social media I have is for the show. And
that's it. I'm trying to publish this book, and everyone I talk to is like, okay, what's your platform? I've got 60 followers on Instagram, and I'm related to most of them. So I'm going to try to start posting, research and stuff on Instagram. So I guess you can follow me there, Trev Lohman. Also I'm kind of trying to start a podcast with a buddy of mine. So I'm going to mention it's called Philo Sophia. It's not really related to this kind of stuff. It's other.
I like that. The two names, Philo and Sophia together.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a great name for a podcast.
I stole that from somebody. I think I heard Jordan Peterson or somebody talking about how it means the love of wisdom. And I'm like, oh, he's a PhD. I'm a PhD. It stands for philosophy. doctor of
Yeah.
philosophy. So we just talk about stuff. So yeah, Instagram and that. If you are a researcher, you can follow me on ResearchGate. That's kind of like the social media for researchers, and that's it.
So what's your book going to be about then? And
It's-
when's it going to come out? Because we should have you back on and we'll talk about it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. A lot of the stuff we talked about today, basically the 15 things that are actually proven to make you live longer. There's a lot of fad stuff that comes and goes. So these are like the pretty solid 15 things. A lot of stuff we talked about tonight. I was trying to self-publish it because I'm like, nobody knows who I am, but someone actually emailed me back about publishing it. So I don't know. It would have been soon if I was self-publishing it. I'm not sure now. So I'll just hit you guys up. And I appreciate that. Yeah. And it's called Step by Step Longevity. So just 15 steps.
Like the song,
Okay.
Step by Step.
Exactly.
Ooh, baby.
I was writing like this huge book about theory, and I'm like, nobody's going to read this. So I just turned it into a 15 step.
Yeah, that's a good way to go. That's good. Those are, supposedly those number things work,
Hopefully.
Let us know if you need a narrator.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, definitely. It's going to be a lot of words like streptomyces, hygroscopicus.
He just goes for it. You have to admire his gusto. There's no like stuttering. There's no anything. Just stronopolophilophagous and just like rolls through like fucking nobody's business.
Can you only do that if it's self-published, or can you do it no matter what? Because that'd be an honor. I'd love that.
It would depend on
most
the publisher.
publishers have audio
Some
rights.
publishers have started. Most publishers, I would say,
I don't think it's going to be important.
have started to retain audio rights. And the sad thing is that a lot of them do it, and then they don't do the audiobook anyway because I think they base it on this or that. Or it's an expense,
weird.
right?
How many
it's not a big
people we say,
expense
we
for
want to, but
$500.
yeah, like it's crazy that more people aren't doing it. So is there a measurement, your chrono age versus your biological age? Like, is there a way that you go like minus 3.5 or like?
Yep.
Is there a division? Is there and what's yours? What's your? I mean, I didn't expect you to be so young looking.
You know what? I actually don't know. I didn't take blood. I should have. Yeah, I know. I easily could have too, because it was all through the study. I don't know why I didn't. I was just at the time, I was just so nervous about like IRB and doing anything wrong. I should have. But it's yes, they call it age acceleration. So on my metric, we call it lifespan acceleration because it's a mortality risk predictor. But the ones the folks at UCLA make, it's called epigenetic age acceleration. And yeah, if you're 40, but your biological age is 30, then your age acceleration is minus 10.
Okay, so it's a simple calculation like that.
That's it.
So you want to be in the minuses. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
All right.
I bet you guys are. I have a good feeling.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
I do too.
I
Let us
gotta
know when
hit
it
some-
comes out. We'll try it out.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for
All right,
having me.
Thanks,
Trevor.
this has been fun.
Thanks. Have a great night.
See ya.
And that was our chat with Trevor Lohman. What'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, that was fun.
That was
awesome.
fun. That was a fun
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it's always fun to have a fan of the show on that kind of knows us more than we know him.
Or at least someone who doesn't.
Maybe
hate
that's
the
why
show.
we feel. Yeah,
They
maybe
kind
that's
of
why
know
we
what
feel-
to expect.
Yeah, but I love the research. I mean, I really do have to tell my buddy Mike, and he should be in touch with them.
How much is it to do your biological age test? We could probably afford to do that. It's probably less than the fasting, right?
Well, if we get some donations, we can do that. And we'll talk about
Yeah,
it on
support the show, motherfuckers. Grimerica.ca/support. If you're getting some value from the show, you got to support it. Big thanks to Matt for coming on the show. Oh, sorry, Matt. Jeez, I got Matt Lomar, and it's not even Lohman, it's Lomar. Big thanks to Trevor for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you are one of those people that are supporting. If you're not, head for Grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for a monthly, make a one-time donation. Check out all the audiobooks at adultbrain.ca, Grimerica.ca/chats for the chats. I think the Discord's back on. We got a Telegram. We got all that shit. Graham@Grimerica.com. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.
Teach me all your secrets to get a good handle on a better way to live. How does one get out of bed every day in the throes of the apocalypse? Should I bury my head in the sand or sabotage their evil plan? I feel really trapped An ant burned by a magnifying glass. It's all a little bit too convenient. All the evidence went up in flames. Phonies, fraudsters, scammers belong in the slammer. My friend, best give up their names. Should I call on militiaman or pass out a petition pen? I feel really trapped. An ant burned by a magnifying glass. I don't know what y'all been told, but I got a soul made out of gold. Sound off, 1, 2, sound off, 3, 4, cadence count, 1, 2, a big ball. Some time ago a crazy dream came to me. I dreamt I was walking into World War III. As prophetic as humidity, as aching bones, as frantic animals. Sophia wrote it down, built an ark, now she floats it down a river dark. As prophetic as deja vu, as wormwood, as falling stars above. Sophia wrote it down, built an ark, now she floats it down a river dark. I can't even hear my own thoughts for the life of me over the din of a bruised and broken culture. The media spins and splatters and spins and clatters, and I cringe because it's psychological warfare. Don't you feel yourself getting really mad? How did we let it get this bad? Don't you feel really trapped like a brain in a vat? Hard to close Pandora's box, but sirens are singing me off a cliff. I'm looking to hitchhike to Shangri-La over yonder. Sophia, would you give me a lift? Hopped out of the Hegelian rebellion. Say goodbye to all you Machiavellians. Let evil destroy itself. I'm bound for Shangri-La. 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 I'll let you be in my dream if I could be in yours. I'll let you be in my dream if I could be in yours. As prophetic as morning doves, as groundhogs, as fallen stars above. Sophia wrote it down, built an ark, now we're floating it down a river dark. As prophetic as white wolves, as butterflies, as rainbows. Sophia sings it now. We built a plane, now we're taking flight above a river bright. Above a river bright. La da da da, la da da, la da, la da da, la da 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 da, la 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 Shangri-La, la 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 Shangri-La.